Okay, so this is Lark sprint review for Sprint 5. Um, this was kind of a scattershot sprint that I'd say was a little bit underplanned, and as a result, we've got a bunch of scattered work done. Uh, so, at least nominally, the sprint's focus was on integrating the PostgreSQL persistence layer and on finishing up Helm and Kubernetes deployment. Um, so that's those two things we made pretty great progress on. The Lark integration is done. We set that up with Valkyrie, and Postgres is now backing the Lark event log. So we made some kind of technical decisions about which Valkyrie adapter to use, and set up processes for schema setup and for database schema migrations in the future. And actually, some of those are there's a case that's already happening where we're wanting to rename a column. So the schema migration work is paying off already. The On the deployment side, we established Helm charts for. I'm sorry, my voice is going. We established Helm charts for Solr and PostgreSQL to deploy them when Lark deploys through Helm to Kubernetes. So that's a big step in the direction of finished deployments. There's still some integration work to do there. It's possible that some of that work will finish up today, but if not, then it will bleed into the next sprint. We also selected a production-ready Ruby web server, which is Puma, and there's an initial configuration for that I expect will get merged sometime today. So outside of the Postgres and deployment topics, some work happened on Houndstooth to essentially rework the YAML data model specifications. So there's a proposed restructuring of that I'll show a little bit more in a moment. The main motivations for that were to support expanded SCOS XL labels. So that supports things like if a label should be used by a particular campus, or if it has an annotation, then we have a place to put that data. And then there's also been some realignment with the ongoing Houndstooth work in the Samvera community, and we actually also submitted a pull request to the Houndstooth repository with some proposed changes that suit our needs. There's been some exploratory front-end work also happening. I anticipate that the main goal of the next sprint, which we're doing planning for in about an hour, is going to be to get a Lark front-end up and running. It's looking like that's going to be a standalone JavaScript app that hits the Lark API. So there'll be interesting work happening there. I expect next sprint that we're set up to plan again in a moment. We've also made some contributions to Valkyrie, which is a core project dependency, or a core product dependency more accurately. And the main goals of that have been to just facilitate a 2.0 Valkyrie release, so that when we roll out Lark in production, we're not hitting a moving target with a pending 2.0 release of our core persistence technology. Did we set out everything did we do everything we set out to accomplish? No, not quite. Like I said, both Solar and Postgres deployments still have some last mile configuration work that needs to be finished. Again, there's some possibility that that will just get done today. We had also slated work for completing the CI/CD pipeline, mainly achieving automated deployments, and that work is still ongoing. I don't expect that will get wrapped up today. So that kind of leaves us with some pretty heavy goals for the next sprint, finishing CI/CD work, completing batch ingests, and rolling out the front end. It makes for kind of an ambitious sprint, but I think we may actually be able to get through all those things. I think the pieces are all kind of set up. And if we can make all those things happen, then I think the project looks really on track. I'm going to show a little bit of what's happening on the houndstooth side, because I think that's the most interesting structural changes that happened this round. So, and this may be useful, especially to you, Catherine. Sorry, I'm going to try and make this bigger. Maybe I'm not. So again, the goal of the changes that we've rolled out here are is to support expanded labels. And this is largely, the structure of this document is largely cribbed from the one that's in progress in the houndstooth repository. So some of the documentation that's attached is updated from that. So we've got property definitions that instead of what was happening in the previous version, and I might try and actually load that for reference. So the previous version assumed that that there's a concept schema specification that lives in its own file, and then there's these property definitions. So what we've done instead here is we have standalone property definitions that are then attached to various things. So in this case, this is available on agent and concept. Oh, we should catch this and review to see. This should be restructured, but this is available on label, and then those things have their own definitions above, which are at this point pretty sparse, but at least there's some place for us to say more about what concepts and agents and labels are and how they should be structured. So this is a pretty major reworking from the previous structure, and we think that it has a lot of improvements. If we can get some further agreement about how this is going, then we should be able to kind of move forward with actually implementing this. I think that's really what's worth poking at demo-wise here. Most of the work that we've done this sprint is again on kind of the infrastructure side, and I think that's going to pay off for the project, for the Surfliner project in general. Yeah, I think that's going to pay off for the Surfliner project in general, since that work is is a lot of new stuff for us that we're kind of breaking new ground on. Do we have questions? I'm not hearing any questions, so I'm just going to pop back to the document and say, yeah, again, the goals for the next sprint look like really kind of relatively finished Lark with batch ingest and a lot of data in it, CI/CD rollout pipeline, and some kind of front end. So, yay.